If you're a beginner, I don't want you to watch this video. If, however, you've been producing for 6 months or more, these 4 advanced EQ tips could give you the last 10% of polish you've been looking for to get your tracks released on some of the world's biggest labels like our other accelerator students. And you can also download my 30 most powerful mixing tips using the link below. So the first technique we are going to look at is mid-side EQ. So when we usually use EQs, it's going to be affecting the left and the right hand stereo signals equally. So for example, if we listen to some vocals and we've got a standard EQ, if we add some kind of curve or cut, it's going to affect the left and the right channels simultaneously. Same with any boosts we do, right? What mid-side processing does is split our sound into 2 signals, but rather than left and right, it gets split into the mid channel and the sides channel. So what is that and how does it do it? Well, simply, the mid channel is what occurs in both the left and the right signal simultaneously, and the sides channel is what differs in between the left and the right signal. And it's just a different way for an EQ, like this Pro Q3 here, to analyze the incoming signal and split it into 2 separate signals. So there are many uses for this, but what I really like to use it on is vocals, and you can add some extra sheen and stereo width in the side channels by processing the mid and the sides separately. So in this example, what we're going to do is switch this node from stereo, which is the default, into mid. And this can allow us to perhaps just boost some of those low frequencies in the mid channel, but what it's most useful for in vocals is to create a side node like so. So we just go here and create sides, and then listen to what happens when we start boosting the side signal in the high end. Really just widens it out. So this is before, and now. Now, my vocals have already been processed, so this is quite a subtle effect, but hopefully you can hear the extra added sheen it adds. But now let's look at another example. So I've got this party atmosphere at the beginning of the track, like this. Sounds like this. And what I want to do is spread that out even wider, because at the moment, we've got some low frequencies in there from the male vocals that I don't think bring that much to the party. And all I'm going to do is just duck these frequencies quite heavily at 327 Hertz. And instantly, it's going to make it sound wider, just because there's less signal in the mid channel. So let's have a little comparison of that. Here's where we were. And now the claps and the female vocals sound a bit wider in the mix. And that's exactly the really wide stereo effect I was going for in this instance. Okay, so that's mid-side EQ. Now let's look at dynamic EQ. I've loaded up a different track for this example. And with a usual EQ, you will duck a frequency or boost a frequency, and it will affect the entire signal regardless of the volume. For example, if we boost these vocals, the entire vocals are boosted regardless of the volume. Now, with dynamic EQ, what we can do is we can duck or boost particular frequencies only when they reach a certain threshold, kind of like compression. At the moment, we can hear that those vocals are very sibilant in the high end, especially in this beginning part. So let's just loop that. If we take down that S frequency like so, it's all very well, but then we might want those high frequencies back for the rest of the vocals. Otherwise it sounds a little bit dull. But by using dynamic EQ, or a de-esser in this example, what we can do is we can just duck those S's when they reach above a certain volume. And then when that amplitude of that particular frequency isn't above that threshold, there's no EQ being applied. So let's try and use a de-esser instead for these vocals. So what we're doing here is we are only ducking these frequencies when the S goes above this certain threshold. And then like a compressor, we're ducking it by this amount. So that's before, really harsh, and that's afterwards. Now, this isn't the only application of dynamic EQ. You could use it on a guitar to boost some of the high frequencies. You could use it to boost some of the low frequencies, or you could use it on a drum loop if the snares are hitting a bit hard and you want to rein them back in to sit better with the rest of the drums. But for me, this is the most common use. Now let's listen to it in situ. Much smoother. Now, there is a more advanced version of this where we use sidechain as well. This is kind of a bonus tip, so I'm going to save it till the end of this session. So in the meantime, let's get to tip number 3, which is frequency splitting. So I've gone back to the original project we were looking at for this, but frequency splitting is simply when you split a particular sound into various different frequency ranges. The most useful instrument to use this on, in my opinion, is the bass, but you can use it on other things as well. So here's an example of how it works. With this bass line, we've just got our one serum and we've got some distortion on there, some other effect, and this is what it sounds like. Pretty cool, huh? Now the trouble with that is it limits us to what we can do because any processing after this serum is then applied to the entire signal. Whereas on this example of the bass, what I've done is split this into 3 separate instruments, EQing their own space for each separate one. So now we have this main bass sound. We also have this sub bass, which is just the low end. And then we have this mid bass. We've just carved out a little bit of low mids to add that extra body. And the beauty, as I said, of having these separate frequency ranges is that we can treat them all completely independently. So if we need a little bit more sub bass, we can boost it. If we need less, we can drop it down. Same with the mid bass. And this just gives you so much more control over your mix. Okay, the last of the techniques I'm going to show you before we get to that bonus one I mentioned earlier is regarding frequency masking. Now this is something I get asked about a lot in our accelerator program, and all it really means is when 2 or more elements of the mix share frequencies, that creates a muddiness or a lack of clarity and definition in your mix. And I'm going to show you how you can use EQ to fix frequency masking. Now as I said, frequency masking arises when 2 or more elements share the same frequencies in a mix, which isn't a problem per se, because if every instrument was to just have its own frequency range and there was no overlap, it would sound very, very unnatural. For example, the human voice is going to share some frequencies with a guitar or a piano, but the issue arises when there's no hierarchy of importance. And if you're sharing the same frequencies in the mix, something is going to have some of those frequencies ducked to avoid this muddiness. So the first step is deciding which is the most important element of your mix at that particular moment in your track. Now, as for which element takes priority, it really depends on the genre you're producing and more specifically the exact track. Usually though, a good rule of thumb is the kick is very important, the bass is very important, the lead synth or the lead vocal are very important, and everything else just has to kind of work around those core elements. So in this track that we were looking at earlier, the vocals obviously important. So we can decide to duck some of the other elements if there's any frequency masking and leave the frequencies in the vocals more prominent. But what we want to do is look at perhaps some of the less easier to determine elements of the track. So we've got our pads here, just kind of making a lovely rich underpinning to the track. But we've also got this piano as well. So let's have a listen to that. Now, it can be a bit hard to hear if there's frequency masking because we've actually already mixed this track. But what I'm going to do is use a Pro Q3 again. And if you have more than one Pro Q3 in your mix, there's a very cool trick that I can show you. So we've got one on our piano. We'll also put one on our pads as well. And if we open one of these up like so and hit this sidechain button, we are now going to be able to see any other Pro Q3 within our mix. So we can see here pianos showing up, and if we hit it, we can now see this red signal is the piano. And we can see where that frequency masking is occurring, these same frequencies that they're sharing. So let's see if we can make this mix a little bit clearer. Now I'm going to choose the piano as the priority and higher up the hierarchy. The reason being, it's playing the exact same notes as the bass in the same place to drive forwards the rhythm of these bass note changes. So let's have a quick listen to that. So that piano really helps build that texture of the bass line as well, which means that the pad has to take some subservience to the piano, if you will. So let's open up the pad because that's where we're going to be fixing the masking, and just listen to those two on their own. And this is the main area where we've got the frequency masking. So let's duck our pad a little bit. So it's very subtle. But when we turn it on, it just adds that little bit more clarity to both the pad and the piano. So that's how to use the Pro Q3 to both identify and fix frequency masking. But now I want to show you that extra tip that we talked about, which is kind of like boss level frequency masking fixing. So I'm going to group everything together in this track apart from the vocals. So we've basically got an instrumental and the vocals. And then what I'm going to do is use a plugin called Soothe 2 by Oak Sound. I think that's how it's pronounced. So let's put one of those on the instrument bus. So what this is actually a dynamic resonance suppressor, which sounds very fancy, but it's kind of like a de-esser or a dynamic EQ that automatically identifies resonant frequencies and can suppress them slightly by compressing just those frequencies. But I'm not going to be using it specifically in its normal way. What I'm going to be doing is using it in its sidechain mode. So we are going to click this sidechain button here, and we are going to bring in our sidechain input, which is going to be the vocals. So what we're going to do now is duck some of the frequencies in the instrumental by the vocal frequencies. So it's listening for the vocals, and the vocals being the most important part of this particular track. And if you were writing any pop track where the vocals are very prominent, this is a great technique. But when the vocals aren't hitting these particular frequencies, the compression of those particular frequency bands is not going to be occurring. So I'll give you an example of both options, and I'll do that by opening up an EQ next to this Soothe 2. So using sidechain mode for the Pro Q3 again, let's just look at the vocal signal on our track. So this is our instrumental, and then this red signal here is the vocal. So we can see obviously they're sharing many of the same frequencies. So if we duck our instrumental at this point, that is going to really cut out the interest of this track. Let's have a listen to that. To allow space for the vocal. Listen how flat that instrumental sounds now, compared to this. Just lost all that mid-range energy, and that's why just a normal EQ cut isn't going to work, because there's so much at play here. So let's turn on the Soothe 2. We've got the sidechain input from the vocals, and we can hit this delta button. We can actually just hear what the Soothe 2 is ducking by the vocals. Let's turn the delta off, and then we'll just dial in with this depth knob. So that's with no effect. So I'm just going to loop this a little bit so we can hear what's happening when we A/B test it. And now let's turn it on. All that's happening is it's just attenuating some of those high frequencies in our instrumental when the vocal's singing, and then when she stops singing or she's singing different frequencies, that attenuation is allowed to bounce back up as though there was no EQ on the instrumental at all. So what it's doing is just allowing those vocals the space to breathe in the mix. It's very subtle, but this is used in pretty much every pop tune nowadays because it just allows those vocals to sound super sweet. Now EQing is of course just one part of mixing, so if you don't know how to use the other tools properly, you're not going to get very far. Now one of the tools that is most prone to ruining people's mixes when used incorrectly is compression. So I've put together the most common compression mistakes I see producers making in this video here. But before you head over there, if you did enjoy this one and found it useful, please smash that like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you over at that next video where you'll finally understand the pitfalls of compression and how to avoid them.